again to TLC, Transforming Lives Continually. I'm Michael Stewart, your usual host, and with me is Dr. Ogana Okeke. He's a specialist medical doctor, specializing in internal medicine. And for those of you who have been following the program, we started a program called Aging and Health. This really is interesting to not only people who have aged, but people who are young too, because if you know some of this information beforehand, it could really save you a lot of trouble. And we had quite a bit of information on our last program, and what we want to do is to continue today. We spoke last week about some of the medical issues that one would experience from the head, as Dr. Ogeke said, he's started with. So we spoke about the eyes, we talked about the hearing, we spoke about insomnia and so on, and we even dealt with other areas of some of the non-communicable diseases that people would have. But he did touch on something that I felt was quite interesting, where the people who are caregivers are oftentimes affected by the people who are ill, and sometimes we ignore that. And we've known of people who take care of ill people and die before the ill people that they are taking care of. So don't take it for granted. And today, therefore, we'll continue on that, and we'll, once we have time permit, we'll also deal with some of the other medical issues. Chances are we'll go into a part 3 on this particular topic. Doctor, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
All right, so we spoke about all of those issues. We can't say great issues, but issues that are factual that we have to learn to deal with. And you were talking about the caregivers and so on, and I think you wanted to talk about some recommendations that you want to give to caregivers.
Yeah, the thing about it is that no one is an island, and we're all interconnected. So that we also learn from the blueprint of others. You don't reinvent the wheel on your own. Because at some point, if you're not old, you must have known somebody who got old and seen what challenges those people went through. The only thing is that when we see things going wrong, we say this can't happen to us.
Yeah.
But taking care of oneself is enough difficult itself. You wake up in the morning, what do? You take a bath. Your hair is not cut properly, you go to the barber, you stay groomed, you dress, you wash your clothes. All those things are investments in yourself, time, and your appearance, okay? Now, think of somebody who no longer has that ability to do that. Either they have a debilitating illness, maybe a stroke, or maybe they've gone blind for some reason, diabetes, glaucoma, but in this case we're talking about the elderly, so those infirmities that come with age, they are going to require somebody to help them prepare their meals, brush their teeth, do their groceries.
Sometimes even feed them in some cases.
And sometimes you even need to feed them. In fact, one of the things we didn't even mention was on the head was loss of dentition. So some people may need their feet. Otherwise, they're going to do what? Starve or become malnourished for some reason because they couldn't eat certain things, and so on. So you're required to do that additional. So that's why I had initially started the last program with once a man, twice a child. It's almost like taking care of a newborn baby.
Yes.
Okay? And also, in addition to that, what do you do with newborn babies besides feeding them? You take them for their doctor appointments, for their vaccination. Same thing with the elderly folk, because they also need vaccinations. Their immune system isn't what it used to be. They tend to forget, so someone has to remember their medication. So you're doing your work, you're going to work, taking care of your children, you're making sure your boss don't fire you. Yes. You also, forget your vacations unless you have an understanding spouse. I'm talking of those who are not. Because when you're single, it's easy for you it might be easier for you to handle it.
Yes.
Hence, some people who are married and they have a sibling who is single, they say, how tough it is for me, so somebody gets...
Somebody
ends up doing it, and once you start doing it, the rest of the family, people tend to withdraw and say, but you're doing it. They'll call you good boy or good girl, but you end up being the one stuck doing that sort of thing. It's not because they don't want to do it, but already they're basically not even able to handle their own self, let alone that. You have to understand the habits of that older person, and an older person demands respect. You don't just keep pushing them around. So because if you just try and do things by, the person may resist, they may refuse to get out of bed, they may refuse to even tell that they're thirsty and they're not drinking enough water, they get dehydrated, they get sick. In the middle of the night, they might have a fall, and old people are prone to fractures because the bones have gotten weak. So things like that you don't take for granted. Some of them, because of problems with arthritis, or even some diseases where they have problems with coordination, Parkinson's and so on, they are always prone to fall. They are prone to forgetting. Imagine they light a stove and they go to sleep and the house burns down. So they require constant supervision. So this is not about, okay, he has eaten, let him go to bed. Your mind is actively on them if you really want to do a good job. So that means you have to factor them into your workload or have a neighbor come take a look. That can be very challenging. If you're going to do that, they're on vacation with you for 3 weeks or so, fine. But this is going to be indefinite.
That's probably for a long time.
For the duration of, for duration.
Years.
So you see the person, what turns to from initial, which is empathy and love of a family member, for some other people who don't have that capacity, turns into they see this person as a problem. You know, you again, they get frustrated, and sometimes you're not going to. I told you not to do this, you did that. Now this is the elderly person who was accustomed giving instructions. Now you're giving instructions. How do you expect them to follow it?
Yes, yeah.
Especially if you're living in their house and then you're telling them what to do in their house. So as a result of that, what's going to happen? Elderly abuse. Then you threaten them, you deprive them of this, you do that. And then...
Yeah, I'm seeing the caregiver experiencing a measure of stress and irritability and so on, and probably sleeplessness because of the same thing of having to stay up to take care of, because if they old, because you spoke about insomnia in the aging person, and they are up, and then sometimes that is affecting you because you have to be up because for one reason or the other they want to come out of bed and so on, and they keep calling for assistance.
Exactly.
So, and you know, the subject is wider than I really thought originally.
So you see, and the person's in train, this just happened on them. So as a result, if it is, the only thing that could carry through that is if people within themselves have that thing. It has to be innate, like they call love, because love overrides all. You know, if someone you don't like does something, irritates you a lot. If someone you love does something, you kind of,
it just makes you uncomfortable.
It may make you uncomfortable, but you do it okay, because your key thing is you want them to be happy.
Yes.
You know, but as human beings, you expect some sort of appreciation. But this person don't care, and it's not because they don't care, but because the mind is gone. They have other bigger issues, and so if you're not trained, then the thing is to also make sure that at the point when you see this happening, you probably may seek counseling, or you let people know your problems. There are, in parts of the world, you have support groups of people who could, professionals that could do it. Other people who have money start looking for nursing homes from way back. Yeah. But then there are certain cultures that, you know, putting your family in a nursing home means you can't care for them.
You abandon them.
Exactly. When you were small and given trouble, they took care of you. Now you can't do the same. And if the other thing too is if you don't do that, your children will do the same thing to you. So it's better your children now start seeing early that you could take care, or you're doing the best you can. There's a point it gets to, let's say, you have maybe even. We're talking of one elderly person. Suppose there are two, and there are three. It even gets more. There's a point where you have to say, listen, this is beyond me.
And if they can't come out of bed and they need constant supervision, but you have to go to work, you'll have to make a judgment call as to give them the best care, maybe to take them to the nursing home. If you don't have what it takes to bring in somebody to take care of them.
You're precisely correct. So those are some of the things that, if one is in that situation, think about it that way. So maybe some part of your savings, if you know that you don't have a large enough family or people that don't care, then you may want to start thinking of researching and investing, putting some money away for something potential. If you don't do it for them, do it for yourself, because it may well be you don't want to be a burden to your children. And then traditionally in some situations, especially if you're in a family that has a lot of discord, let's say this elderly person was the one who was kind of the arbiter. Once that situation is gone, chaos could occur in the family. One person then starts handling the case, and then what happens, especially when the person starts going in and out of hospital? People are now waiting for what? Person to expire, so that they could start dealing with property. So that elderly person gets depressed because he knows that the people that are coming to assist are not coming because all the time they were ill, it was only this one or two children that were doing it. Now they are coming, they are like vultures circling. They don't want to be cut out of a will, they don't want to be cut out of things. That's even going to make the elder person even more depressed because this is what their life, all their life has boiled down to this.
So we'll find that you spoke about the families being split and caregivers being where you talk about the marriage being affected and so on. You have some time where you have a caregiver a sibling taking care of the parents. And then now we've known of where those parents turn around and give that sibling more of the property or the inheritance, or sometimes give them all of the inheritance because all the others did not do anything. And that creates, after that person expires, a rift between the surviving siblings.
Yeah.
And that now is going to be an additional pressure that that caregiver is going to go through.
Yeah, because two things are going to happen. Those other people are not going to see it that way. They're going to see that the reason why you stayed with the elderly person was to brainwash them into giving you everything. So they're going to contest that in court.
Yes.
Okay? Or they may see this as, that wasn't really a mine, but this is a punishment. So it's now seen as punishment. So even if you do that, you may rethink it because it may be causing a rift between relatives. And my suggestion in that situation is, long before you get infirm and old, and especially when it gets to the point when you're Alzheimer's and they bring in a doctor and say this person isn't able to make informed decision, then a will could be contested because they say this person made it without a sound mind. So the important thing is when you have a sound mind, as soon as you can, make a will and talk to your children and do everything when everything is good.
That was one of the whole issues, because you may, sometimes you give certain property to a certain child. Let's say you give the house that you're living in to a child. That child does not turn around and take care of you. The one who did not get the house takes care of you. And then this one is now claiming the house, even while the person is still being taken care of.
No. And that's why it has to be written and witnessed and so on at the time you did it. Because you shouldn't be taking care of your relative to get something. Then it defeats the whole purpose.
Yes.
You're taking care of them because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
If you get, and you should also, all people should always remember that blessings come from other things, not always property and stuff. So that if things are done properly and you speak to them, it's agreed upon, then that has to be, you're taking care of you. If that person then chooses that they've gotten what they want from you and they don't want to, well, it's still your child. It was not a borrowed child. That's probably you didn't train them properly. But that is that. But you want to decrease rift. Because the worst thing is that they now turn on each other and even destroy even the little that is there. So it might be the better of it. No solution is perfect. But
on this island, and probably in this country, you see so many good homes abandoned and bush and going on it. And when you listen to what is happening, it's because it is in court, because the owner died and the family is now at risk and nobody could live on it because there's an injunction that prevent anybody from going in. And a good house, good property and everything, beautiful at one point, just all of a sudden go into abandonment. And that is so sad. Yeah,
people are always going to contest, but when there's a will and it's not contestable, at the end of the day, whether it takes 4 or 5 years, it's going to be resolved. Okay, and resolved legally as opposed to by guess. And everything based on using someone's ill health and elderliness and infirmity to contest a point that I took care of him more than you, therefore it shouldn't work like that.
So you are suggesting make a will in advance?
Yeah.
Yes. So that you don't have that whole...
So you don't use prejudice to make your decisions, because prejudice is always never going to work out well for you. Make it the right, correct way, and let people take care of their elderly folk, because that is what you think is the right thing to do in the best way you can. Obviously, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 3 brothers, 3 sisters will have different capacities. So just see what, even your 1% may be able to keep the other person 90% from being overwhelming, and a little bit that helps.
Yes.
Now, in other countries, there are different cultures. Nursing homes are the issue. They pay the life insurance. The same way people pay for where they're going to get buried. You pay for that, you get in, so nobody gets caught up in taking, and you still live a certain quality of life where you get to get your doctor's visits, where you get to get checked, you get your exercise. And in fact, in some of those elderly homes, they organize activities for the elderly. They take them for bus ride excursions, and people will meet people who are closer to their age and with same infirmities. And so,
well, when you look at homes here, I'm not too sure we are that structured, where you have the communal area and these activities that you have, and where there are some of them where you could even dress up and come to functions, even on the same property where the home is. But I think that people have it stigmatized here for one reason or the other, and probably because this is what we see, that it is a place where you sit and stay all day till you're ready to sleep in the night. Because sometimes I don't think we put too much emphasis on the quality of engagement and activity that takes place with these aging homes.
Yeah, but you see, what we see is a product of what we have. Now, half bread is better than none. To have a few individuals trying to start up a home is very expensive. Land here is very expensive. A building is very expensive. If they could get help from non-governmental organizations, or even the government subsidized in some sort of way, because these people are doing a community service. Healthcare is difficult to get much profit out of healthcare. Your real profit is quality of life of citizenry. So government is trying, I think, giving them free, if you're a certain age, you could get a free ticket to go to training. But suppose you don't go to training, it's of no use to you. Okay, I don't know if they have discounts in the stores. When they go to the bank, they have a free line, they get the old age pension and so on. But with inflation, some of these things cannot pay for a nursing home. So the nursing home person is probably going to do the best they can within the circumstances. If the family comes in, brings food and brings additional thing, that is fine. But I think in a small population like this, we shouldn't have a lot of elderly abandonment. I don't think we really should. Because it's not like a situation where you live in a country where there are different ethnic, different language, most people here are related, family. So that there must be one family who they don't have, and most people grew up in a house, so you don't have to put them out. You know, and a lot of time you have a person being put out of the house by their child.
We've heard of that.
What you just need is within that same house, some sort of caregiver, even if it means subsidizing. I mean, I'm sure imaginative people could think of creative things. But the point is that at least, I mean, the nursing homes could be a whole lot better with discussions and so on and so forth. But it's tough enough to even buy the land, to have the facilities, to feed the people, to have transportation in case they are sick, to call it. You need a lot of people to pitch together. So,
and what I think we need is some monitoring of the homes to make sure the quality of care is up to scratch, because we've heard of abuse that takes place in some of the homes, not only nurseries but also the senior citizens' home.
Well, I mean, no case of abuse is correct, but I think it's also reflective of society, because I'm sure abuse will also occur in individual, private, family homes outside of the nursing homes. So yes, everything that is for health should be registered, and part of registration requires some aspect of being allowed to come into the premises at any time to monitor and see what's happening, and make sure you have the trained staff, because a regular person coming in to take care of somebody who has Alzheimer's, or someone who has even maybe some sort of psychiatric problem, they may not understand that they have a psychiatrist. They just think this person is stubborn, doesn't want to give trouble, and so on and so forth. And there may be a situation where things may be misinterpreted, and it's going to be deprivation of food, which is abuse, screaming at them, which is some sort of abuse, or even physical. Or allowing them, knowing that physically they are going to walk into and oh, you want to go in there? Okay, go in there, and then they get hurt or burnt by something. So because these people are untrained, and not just untrained, they don't have the temperament to deal with this. Because you find two people, somebody, and that's why in the house you find somebody very upset and somebody else it doesn't, but oh gosh, it's okay, handle that. So you need those sort of trained people to
Let's talk about some of the medication that the aged people must take, and some of the regimen that we need to help them in order to make sure that they are timely with the taking on it. What could you recommend? Because you spoke about Alzheimer's and forgetfulness and so on. What do you recommend to help some of these aged people to take their medication timely?
Okay, so some simple things like what they call pill boxes. Okay, and those pill boxes are usually plastic, then they are capped, and they may have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on them. So if there's someone to assist, you know the pills you're supposed to take on Monday, so they just put it in. So that if today is Monday, you put a calendar there, or a light comes up and it says Monday. So because some other people don't even know what day of the week it is. Okay, so it's Monday, so they come to the place that is Monday. So if you open it and it's empty, it means you took it. Because some people may take the medication and forget they took the medication.
Right.
And say to themselves, I wonder if I took this medication, and then they overdose on it.
So if it's Monday, because there are some aged people that they take all 6 tablets in one day.
Yeah.
So you put all 6 in that one.
No, you could have 2 different pill boxes: Monday afternoon, Monday morning. So if it's morning, you do that. Okay, so you do that. Or you could just, instead of having the full pill box, someone puts out the medication that morning. This is for the morning, this is for morning. So the person will check again. If you haven't taken it, they'll say, but you haven't taken it. Okay, but some of those things help. They may not be absolutely help completely, but at least they give you some sort of, because some people's memory is not so bad, it's just to be reminded. And then, or they remember that they have to take it, but then did I take it? They open it's empty, it hasn't been taken out. It's that sort of thing. that's one of the things that they have to do. Secondly, too, the other thing because some medications have their own side effects too. So certain medications, like blood pressure medications, for instance, you have to tell the patients while you're on it, when you wake up in the morning, don't just get up all of a sudden, because your baroreceptor mechanisms may not be enough to accommodate you. So get up before the heart could pump up blood to the brain. You fall, you black out, you get a fracture or something like that. Some that are used for the...
And that's some of the hypertensive...
Blood pressure medication.
Right.
In fact, there's a medication for the prostate. A lot of prostate medications tend to also have blood pressure lowering effects. And that's why they tell people it's better to take it at night, because at night you're lying down anyway, so you won't feel any low pressure or high pressure.
Right.
Okay, because if you take them during the day, you might experience that getting up and having what they call a syncopal attack.
What attack?
Syncopal attack, that means a blackout. Okay? They have to eat right. You know, elderly people, there's certain habits. Oh, I want my little drink, I want my little...
Yes.
Because they feel that they are old enough to be wise enough to know better than you, the younger people, what
yes,
they
yes,
talk
you
about.
can't tell me
you
what
can't
to
tell
do.
them what to do. So you may have to really encourage, because there's some things that you don't want to be taking with alcohol, for instance, or some medications that you don't have to be on too many green vegetables for those on blood thinners. Things that they like, they may have to start being...
So green vegetables, what would that do? You
okay, let's say you have a heart condition where the heart is beating irregularly. It's called atrial fibrillation. You want to thin the blood. There's a medication currently used called warfarin, which is taken on evening times. What it does is blocks vitamin called vitamin K. Vitamin K is fully loaded in a lot of green vegetables, your bhaji, your lettuce, your cucumber, your cabbage, that sort of thing. So you don't want, because if you're taking the vitamin K, you're trying to eliminate to allow the blood to be thin, then you're spinning top in mud, you know. So you have to, but then the person's accustomed eating their kalalu and their thing.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean they have to stop it completely, but may need to cut down the amount so that the medication could at least have a chance of working. They'll not, but they're not going to listen to you, and then they get the stroke because their blood was never thin all the time. Then that could be a problem. So dietary issues. Then the other is to encourage them to have exercise. A third is to keep them hydrated. The thirst mechanism, the ability to feel thirsty, tends to dwindle as people get older, because the brain is not functioning as it should. So they don't drink enough fluid. So elderly people tend to get dehydrated fairly quickly because they're not drinking enough fluid. A young person is always going in the fridge looking for something to drink, but an older person may not even feel thirsty enough.
And they may not have even been aware that they have not drunk probably for a day or two.
And then when your body gets dry, you get hard physics, which leads to constipation. You don't feel completely well because your toxins are not being flushed out as maximally, and the blood is concentrated. You get dizzy and so on. So these are some of the things that they should also remember to do. I mean, it's it's tailored to everybody, but there are certain things that are common to elderly people.
What about taking up the medication at a specific time, the morning ones and the afternoon time? Did it make any difference whether you take it 6 o'clock and later on you take it 10 o'clock in the night? What's the situation?
No, for everybody, it's not just the elderly. For most people, it's preferred that you take your medications at about the same time every day, because some medications have a 24-hour effect. So if you delay it, the one you took yesterday, 24 hours has passed, and you're a period when there's no medication in your system.
You're not covered.
You're not covered, okay? And then if you take it too early, you may get a period where you have a little higher dose than it should be. So trying to get it sequenced, I mean, we understand people have to be in certain places. Say you went down the train and as an emergency, you may forget the medication. Maybe it happens once or twice, but in general, it's better to take your medication and so that if there's a problem, your doctor could know at least it's not the medication.
Oh, right.
So then if he needs to increase the dose or drop the dose, it's not because he took it at a different time. He doesn't have to guess at that. And if it's not working at all, he knows it's not working, and he moves on to that. So as much as possible, although in life it's difficult to, but it's better to take things at the same time, give or take an hour on a daily basis.
Okay. Antibiotics.
Yeah.
And the, sometimes, well, not only antibiotics, and I understand hypertensive medication where sometimes you feel good and you tell yourself, well, I don't need to continue this. I remember recently, but just over the Christmas holidays, there was a lady who said, well, now, she's come out with the family for a couple of days, and she didn't work with any medication because she didn't want that whole issue. She wanted to just have a nice free thing, and we realized one of the medication was for hypertension. And so we became very, very concerned. Why would you want to come out here and to just have a good holiday and leave the hypertension? Could you just speak on that one too?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to blame her, because everybody from the most intellectual person to the least intellectual person, people have an aversion to taking medications. And as long as you're feeling good, all of us, you start calling all the other doctors quacks, and they don't know what they're doing. I mean, this medication, especially if you're taking a medication that was giving you a side effect you didn't like before. Now you're not taking side effects, it's gone. You say, well, maybe I'm good. But you're only good until you get into a car just before it makes impact in an accident was looking normal. So what they're trying to do is prevent something from occurring. It doesn't mean that you stop it today, that something will happen to you tomorrow, but over time, it's going to happen. And when it happens, you not only you take that medication, you stop taking, but you would take more to even try to fix what happened before. And all of a sudden, you wish you were just on one pill before. So that the other thing too is with antibiotics are not indefinite drugs, except, well, they are not indefinite drugs. Most of them are given for 7 to 10 days, except you have some sort of chronic condition like endocarditis, where they may be given for a whole month, or something that is specific you're treating. But antibiotics are not for life, like diabetic medications and so on. So that it's always advisable that you complete the course. What happens is a lot of people, they don't complete the course, but their immune system picks up the slack. So they think that everything is good. But if people keep doing it like that, they might end up developing a resistant organism that if they transmit to others, the antibiotic wouldn't now function in other people, and then develop antibiotic resistance. Then antibiotics in general are overprescribed. So maybe you didn't even need the antibiotics in the first place, and you got it so that you stopped taking it, it wouldn't have changed anything. So it's kind of hard to say, but I'll say in general, if your doctor and the doctor you trust gives you a medication, please finish the course, or if you're going to stop it, let them know so they could advise you on what it is. But an elderly person, chances are, they don't like going to the doctor anyway. Chances are they would. The relatives have to be the ones who will step into that crease and speak to the doctor and find out what they need. Because if the person gets sick or gets sicker, it's all going to be on their head as well.
Well, we've had a really full two segment of this aging and health. I want to really thank Dr. Okeke for coming in and sharing with us such great information, and I hope that you're able to have your family around you while we listen to this. You may have an aging father, mother, and that would do well with it or look at the way you run. I'm Michael Stewart, and this is Transforming Lives Continually, and we want to thank you very much for viewing. We'll see you next week.